Hey, Sean, I recently had the opportunity or maybe the obligation to teach my son something as a parent that I hadn't really thought about before, and that is the concept of shame. Now, shame is something that seems like it's a normal part of being a human, and unfortunately, in some ways it is, but it's absolutely unnatural. No other species feels shame. No other species gets embarrassed by something that they've done or that they've thought. And no other species like changes their behavior because they think somebody might do something differently. But I was at a birthday party a couple months ago, and I was next to a conversation. These weren't people in our birthday party, but people at the park. And one of the young boys had on fingernail polish. And I could hear one dad talking to that boy's dad saying, like, you let him wear fingernail polish? And the guy was like, yeah. Like, why? And the guy's like, isn't that a little feminine? And I didn't hear the rest of the conversation, but man, I have been thinking about it ever since, because shame is something like the reason not to wear nail polish. And nail polish is a great, like, acute, specific example, but feel free to expand this across the spectrum to any, let's say, style risk, but like wearing a pink shirt or sparkly shoes, or insert whatever thing here you want, even fashion, but also expand it to any other hobby you want to try, anything. But I like nail polish because it's such a low impact, temporary thing that has no real consequences. The reason that a boy shouldn't wear nail polish is because someone else might think something negative about that. That's the only reason. You're teaching that kid, hey, let these people have power over you. Let their thoughts, those people who might judge you for your nail polish, change your behavior. Don't do what you'd want to do because those people might feel a certain way about it. And the more I thought about it, what a ridiculous thing to teach kids. But I think we kind of do sometimes because we think it's necessary, or we think we're protecting them. But we have an opportunity as parents, and I've thought about this as a parent and as a creative professional about what is shame. And there's a great story that I read in Ryan Holiday's book, Courage is Calling, about James Caan, the actor James Caan, who in acting school or whatever, there was a scene that he and his roommate were both supposed to do, and they had to wear tights for it. And James Caan wore tights, and his roommate refused, and so was taken out of the scene and then ended up not becoming an actor. I don't remember the details of the story, but they were tangentially somehow linked to The Godfather. But James Caan was Sonny Corleone, The Godfather's son. And the question Ryan Holiday poses in this is what would you do if you weren't afraid to put on the tights? What could you do if you weren't afraid to put on the tights? Because that's something which all of these things have no consequences. And yet we tell ourselves we can't do them because somebody might think something about it. And I don't think I would have taken the time to think about how ridiculous this was until I had the obligation as a parent to broach this conversation with my kids. And what comes next of do I want to teach my son, hey, there's going to be people who might make fun of you if you try that, so don't try it. It's not a good idea to try that. And again, this is one tiny example. We're talking about painting nails, but it's easy to look at any other example here and say, why would we teach our kids and each other? I mean, I'm talking about we have influence over our own kids, but as a society, what do we gain by telling people to worry about what other people think so much that you change your own behavior? And I think about what is masculinity, and I don't like this conversation, and I don't like... I'm not going into that, but I think a lot of times when people talk about masculinity, a lot of times it boils down to some element of strength, of being strong. And picture the most stereotypical masculine person you can think of who's strong and brave and has big muscles and is tough. And I wonder, what is all that? What is all that worth? What is it good for? All that strength and manliness, if that person, the manliest person you know, wouldn't put on nail polish because of what other people might think about them. And it really put into perspective me what is true strength And when we embrace shame and when we change our behavior or avoid something because of what somebody else might think, why are we voluntarily giving that power to somebody? And I think it's a cliche now. Like people say, like, I don't care what other people think. I don't care what other people think. But I think a lot of us do. And some of that's just built into our society. But if we had the opportunity to change that step by step, person by person, wouldn't that be better? Like what a fantastical world that would be, and what art we could create, what policy we could do, what wonderful things we could accomplish as a society if we got rid of some of this needless shame, especially shame about like what is manly, what is not manly, and what is a good style versus a bad style. Like take a style risk, and it shouldn't even have to be a risk, but do something like that. And watch what it does for your sense of strength. And I pose the question, are you strong enough? If you think you're a big, tough, masculine person, are you strong enough to put on nail polish? And I was talking to my wife about this before I recorded this, and we were saying, there's really two reasons to put on nail polish. Either one, you've always wanted to put on nail polish, and now you're finally doing it. Or two, like performatively to say, like, look, I can do whatever I want. I can paint my nails. Like it's a statement. And pretty quickly, we both realized, like, no, I think there's a third reason to put on nail polish, and that's because it doesn't matter. Like you could put it on and it's not that, this is the one thing I've always wanted to do and I'm finally going to do it and I think I'm strong enough, or that like, I'm going to do this so that the world knows I can. I think there's that third option of like, I'm going to do it because who cares? And I quickly come to Dr. Seuss's, those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. What are we doing as people if we're spending time judging people, especially kids? Like, why would we teach them at such an early age, hey, some people might not like it, so change your behavior because of that? And so I came to peace with this. Like, this is what I want my message as a father to be, what I want my message as a creative to be. I have this YouTube channel, and some people watch these videos, and I talk a lot about what it means to put yourself out there. And when you're creating content, it can be nerve-wracking because people criticize the content. And I think what we find most of the time is that the people who criticize someone's content aren't usually people who make content. I think when you make things, when you create things, when you express yourself in some vulnerable way, you realize how hard that is. And you realize that when someone else is doing it in a genuine way, it's not something that you attack or put down or criticize. It's something to be respectful of. It's something we are in awe of and sometimes even jealous of, that somebody is creating content. So as I came to peace with all this and what do we gain with this strength and stuff, I was like, you know what? I'll paint my nails for this video because, clearly that's the right move. Why would I be afraid to paint my nails? And so I got some nail polish and I was about to paint my nails and then I'm like, whoa, I think this is a line too far. Like, I like this. It's a good idea, and I believe in it. I think anyone should paint their nails, but I don't want to paint mine because that's not something I would really do. And I was shocked at how different the conversation became when it became real. When it became like, all right, well, put your polish where your nails are. What are you really about? And if I want to lead with example, and if I want to create content and hope that other people create content that's authentic and vulnerable, I need to be creating content that's authentic and vulnerable. If I want my kids to feel comfortable trying things, experimenting and expressing themselves and exploring art and fashion and what makes them unique, then I need to be leading them by example, not just telling them, I'm not going to do it. And as I thought about it, I'm like, well, what if I paint my nails, but then somebody sees me and I can be like, oh, my daughter wanted to paint my nails, so whatever. And I think some people, for whatever reason, would look at that and be like, oh, that dad painted his nails because his daughter wanted to paint her nails and they did it together. But what if the dad just wanted to paint his nails? Like, what is the difference there? And so I thought a lot about this and I struggled to commit to whether or not I wanted to do it. And I've been through this before with my hats. I've talked about this on the channel, but back in 2013, I saw people wearing big crooked flat-billed hats and I was like, that's cool. I wish I could do that. And it took me a bit to be like, why can't I do that? I probably could do that. But I put that hat on at the store and I was like, I don't think I can pull this off. But I didn't look any different than someone else who wore a big flat-billed hat. And so I bought it, like as an exercise in courage and confidence. I bought the hat. And the first few times when I left my house, it was a genuine, like, it took effort to be like, okay. And I'm like sort of looking around, like, okay, who's going to notice my hat? No one did. No one cared. There were a few people who I knew, who had been friends with, who were like, whoa, hat. And that's it. That's it. Anyone who didn't know me, no one cared. No one cared about the hat. And so I've been through this once before, and I was trying to think about that. And so after all of this, as I think about what do I want this world to look like, what do I want creators to feel enabled to do and encouraged to do, what do I want our kids to do, how do I want them to feel about self-expression, about judging each other, and about creating more of this fear that you'll be judged, like this shame that we feel comes from other people. But if enough of other people can be accepting and welcoming, then we start to, as a society, get rid of shame in some of these things. And what a powerful, awesome thing that could be, and what a wonderful world to live in that would be. And all we can do is affect ourselves and the people around us. And so with all that in mind, I painted my nails, painted one hand, and I left the house with nail polish on. And do you know what happened when I went to the grocery store with nail polish on? Nothing. No one cares. No one. If you're someone who cares about the nail polish that someone else is wearing, there's a different question that needs to be asked. And I don't know what that question is, but I feel like if we can all stop asking that question, we're going to be in a better place as a society and as people and as parents and as creatives. So that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely appreciate it. Have a great day or night or whatever, wherever, and go paint your nails or put on a cool shirt or buy awesome Jordans that you don't think you can pull off, and then put them on and feel awesome. See ya.